GART time. So it's really 10 o'clock East Coast time. So GART is the one where it actually starts at 10 a.m.
Wait a second here.
So, okay.
So wait, 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. right now on the East Coast. GART is mountain time.
Right.
So,
so
8 a.m.
9 a.m.
2 hours because it's central and then mountain, I think. No, I think it's mountain.
Oh, I thought it was central time.
Yeah. We're going to have to figure that out. Maybe we come on for the second hour of daily or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought GART was the one where it was actually on time, but maybe I'm wrong. Somebody, I'm filibustering
on this.
I'm filibustering it. Okay, somebody new case says 2 hours. It's mountain time. Okay, so yeah, it'll be an hour early. GART will be beginning or GART. Yeah, we're gonna move all of GART to accommodate Badlands.
No. So here's what I was thinking. I think last year we started an hour late so that we didn't have to have them open up the entire venue that early. And so we started at 9 a.m. local time there, which was 11 a.m. East Coast time. So Badlands Daily would start 1 hour late if we do that.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
That's how it'll do. I gotta have that. I gotta have that extra hour of sleep because the VIP, the night before.
There you go.
always.
Well, also, like if we start at 8 a.m. that local time and the GART panels don't start till what, 10?
10.
Kind of a big gap in there. So
yeah, we'll start at 9. So it'll be 11 a.m. Eastern time here on Rumble. There we go. It is Friday, joined by Chris Paul. How you doing, brother?
I am I'm fantastic.
Me too. By the way, the perpetual cycle continues. We all got rugged a little bit, kind of, sort of rugged. We'll get into that for sure. Before we do that, smash the thumbs up if you have not done so yet. And let's get a word from our sponsors here. And first up, our friends over at Rise Attire.
What up, Badlanders? Are you ready to rock something new in 2026? Well, as always, we got you covered with the Rise Badlands Native Collection. Built from the rich tones and rugged terrain of the Dakotas, equal parts beautiful and brutal. Old roots, new vibe. Whether you got gators in your backyard or you have to take a bush plane to the post office, Badlanders are worldwide. Different dirt, same tribe. Speaking of different dirt, the ghost of base Patrick Henry designed a plan for the border wall that he actually sent to the White House. It's friggin' hilarious. Now you can get it on a shirt, hoodie, and more. And don't forget, every order throws fuel on the fire of the Made in USA parallel economy. So grab something now at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
All right, badlandsmedia.tv/rise. Get you some of that Rise Attire Badlands gear. I got the Ghost shirt. I'll be wearing it. I'm probably going to wear it on Badlands Daily on Friday from Deadwood. It's a pretty badass shirt, man. I love it. I can't wait to see what people are going to say out in the public. Like, what is on your shirt? Did you kid make that or something? Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Also very talented with those drawings.
Absolutely. It's fantastic and it's hilarious. Guys, Maha yourself with supplements that don't suck from Conscious Strength. Founded by Badlands' very own Jordan Sather in 2019, Conscious Strength products are made in America and won't break your bank, unlike other online brands. Their lineup includes collagen for strengthening joints and hair, electrolytes to get rid of those cramps, greens, powders that taste good and mix easy, She Legit gummies, methylene blue, Zeolite, and more. Flip the finger to Big Pharma. Be your own doctor and get supplements that you can trust from Conscious Strength. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/strength to shop now and use promo code Badlands for 10% off. One more time, that's badlandsmedia.tv/strength. The link will be in the description down below. And also, you can check out episode 5 of America First Stories. All right. And Chris, I completely and totally forgot, bro. I completely forgot.
Oh, no.
I wish you a happy Juneteenth.
He changed his shirt 3 times before he left. Tried on a smile that didn't
everybody saved?
Everybody,
Even me?
especially you.
You mean I just have to use a promo code to get the discount?
BB truly is an idiot.
Hi, fellas. What year is it?
Soft disclosures for everybody.
All right, softdisclosure.com, promo code Juneteenth. Today is your last day to get that 15% discount. And Chris, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, I had forgotten to have a happy Juneteenth, so I'm glad you reminded me.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, now you know to go out there and celebrate. It is a federal holiday. However, so federal holidays are usually pretty good for us because we work here on Badlands Media and Badlands Daily especially, but we work on the federal holidays, Memorial Day, Labor Day. If it's on a weekday, we're here. Usually the other big name podcasters that, always hog up the premier spot on the homepage, they usually take those days off. However, I'm looking at Rumble's homepage, and Dan Bongino is not taking the day off to celebrate Juneteenth. So smash that thumbs up if you're a unique chatter. Get in there and let's overtake that algorithm. And speaking of Juneteenth, there we go. Supreme Court sides with Texas man who says it's not a crime for marijuana users to have guns.
I can't believe that's even up for debate.
I had no idea that was actually a thing. I was just over here I was just over here kind of scratching my head. I was like, don't know what's going on here. Was that it? I mean, I never once in a million years thought I smoke pot, I can't own a firearm. I was like, that is absolutely absurd. I'm glad I'm not the test subject for this law. I've covered this case. So there were a bunch of these cases, by the way, that took place throughout the United States. And you kind of got mixed reviews from the appellate courts. The case that I covered for Gateway was a case out of Oklahoma. This is a case out of Texas, which is really weird because Texas is completely illegal. Like your lieutenant governor over there, Dan Patrick or whatever his name is like an absolute retard when it comes to cannabis. Oh, you could eat a bag of cereal and kill yourself. And it's like, no, you just sleep it off for like 12 hours. But anyways, so well, let's read the case here. The Supreme Court ruled against a broad federal ban on gun ownership by marijuana users. The justices decided unanimously. I was shocked by that. In favor of a Texas man who argued that a law barring guns from anyone who regularly uses illegal drugs violates the Second Amendment. Justice Gorsuch wrote that, in his opinion, narrowly limits the government's power to take away guns from drug users who are not considered dangerous. Hamani, the Texas man, was not charged with any other crimes or accused of using the weapon under the influence. Jump down here a little bit. Quote, "We do not address efforts to ban addicts or those presently intoxicated from possessing a firearm," Gorsuch wrote. Prosecutors could charge a marijuana user if they had evidence the person was dangerous. I don't know too many potheads that are dangerous, especially while they're using pot.
Well, maybe not violently aggressive dangerous, but there's other kinds.
That's true. Now, I never in a million years thought I would ever read this sentence, but let me read this again. Let me read this, well, for the first time. The ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and the National Rifle Association supported Hamani's case, as did legalization, cannabis legalization groups such as NORML. Whoa. You got a winner. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, shall not be infringed, man. This is crazy. There's nothing like this for alcohol. There's nothing like this for pharmaceuticals. No, they don't take guns away from people with what is it called? Ambien prescriptions, that drug that people use to sleep and that knocks them out and they go sleepwalking and all that. That this is even a question is ridiculous. And the fact that the government believes it's allowed to regulate cannabis in the first place is ridiculous.
So on Form 4479, which is the federal form that you fill out to buy a gun, and I'm a certified NRA instructor in every discipline that they offer an instructor level course. On Form 4479, when it asks you about drug use, it asks, are you an active user of? And I have always interpreted that as, am I going to the gun store and buying a gun while I'm high on drugs, whether it's, I don't consider cannabis a drug. I consider it a plant. But whether it's, cocaine, meth, whatever the case might be, am I high at the time that I'm buying that? Because that's what an active user is. And it says, are you addicted to? Now that one I can give you some ground on, because I think there are drugs that are addictive. I'm case in point that cannabis is not addictive. Haven't smoked cannabis since April 16th, I think, or 15th. I think it was Saturday. So April 15th. And I haven't had like a jonesing. I haven't had a craving. Not one little bit where I've been like, man, I really wish I could just smoke a joint right now. Now, do I miss it? Yeah, of course I do. I think there's a ton of benefits I got when I was, partaking, but it was kind of a bet with Alpha, and it evolved and just kind of a, personal thing, see how long I can go. And after Deadwood, I'll be back on the wagon. But that's how I always interpreted it. And the last point I want to make on this is covering the Oklahoma case. The thing that was really assuring, this was the first real substantive application of Bruin that I've seen. And the Oklahoma federal district court ruled, cited Bruin. And then the appellate court out there in Oklahoma also refused to overturn the district court citing Bruin. So I don't know how the Supreme Court, what they actually were presented with from Texas, but the Oklahoma case cited Bruin. And that's the first time I've seen Bruin do something that it was supposed to do. And that is interpret the Second Amendment in the context of our founding fathers and our, our traditional history in the United States.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's jump back into the Iran war, because we do have updates. We got maybe a rug. I don't know that I'm ready to say this was a rug yet, but we had Vice President JD Vance, who's going to be apparently the lead negotiator on this.
Sure.
Yeah, he did a press conference yesterday, and there's a couple points I want to highlight. The first one is just kind of giving an overview of this memorandum of understanding thus far and what impact it's had.
I think the president's peace plan in Iran is already bearing real fruits for the American people. Last night, 12.5 million barrels of oil went through the Strait of Hormuz. That is a high since the beginning of the conflict. Oil prices are down nearly at their level from the pre-war conflict. Gas prices dropped below $4 a gallon today for the first time since the conflict. And importantly, they're going to keep falling further given how low oil prices are. On the military side, the Iranians, for the second night in a row, did not shoot at any ships in the Strait of Hormuz. So far, they are honoring their end of the commitment. And on the blockade, CENTCOM has allowed north of a dozen ships to go through our naval blockade. And so we're also honoring our end of the early part of the agreement. On the military side, a couple of things that are still true and will be true whether the Iranians comply with the rest of the deal or not. Number one, their nuclear program has been completely destroyed. Their capacity for enrichment, the facilities at which they were using to develop enrichment and develop a potential nuclear weapon, those facilities are still destroyed. Their conventional military is still destroyed. Their capacity to threaten their neighbors is still largely gone. And now we see whether they are willing to comply with the next step of the president's peace plan.
All right, so we can land the first part right there. I did see somebody in our GART Telegram chat, the Deadwood one, that said I think it was in Texas, that they saw $2.99 gas. $2.99 gas. I think it was at a Walmart, so it's probably discounted, right? Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, all those outlets have the discounted rates, but still $2.99. Let's go. Maybe my 240 is going to hold up. I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah, maybe you could get there. I mean, that would be an awfully fast reduction, but you got 2 weeks and it's been gradually but continually falling. So who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, wait, so is it 240 average or is it 240 like anywhere in the country?
I'm going with 240 anywhere in the country.
Well, there you go. See, now that you have a chance on that. I think you have a real chance on that. I thought you've had a real chance on that the whole time. And then I was wondering if it was, and then I was like, is he talking about like 240 average? Because there's no way that's happening. Right?
The commies in California fuck all that up.
Yeah.
They're still going to be at like $7 because Gavin Newsom's a complete tool.
It's absolutely crazy. I cannot. I mean, obviously, I used to live there for many years. I cannot believe having to pay that because you have to drive everywhere, which is fine, and it's a driving city. And some of those if you're not on the freeway stuck in traffic, the freeway system actually gets you places really quickly. And then there's a number of parts of Los Angeles where the drive is really beautiful if you don't have to see homeless encampments, But man, oh man, you're driving all the time and you're stuck in traffic, just burning gas. I can't, that like $7 gasoline, they'll crush you.
I'm with you, man. Like, and not only that, you have all the restrictions out there, like on your cars, the carb restrictions and all of that stuff as well, but that's why they've pushed so hard for electric vehicles out there. That's part of it, right? The pain is the punishment. The punishment is the pain that you feel from the $7 gas prices, encouraging you to go out there and buy that lithium ion battery that's going to destroy, the entire earth around it and all that crap. Yeah.
So Brian, in the chat, we got a nice review of where gas prices are at in the country. Steve Cray says 318 in East Texas yesterday. One with Cat says 293 in San Antonio as of yesterday. Ellen Springer says still over $5 a gallon in Washington State.
288. One with Cats, 288 in San Antonio.
There you go. 369 in Southwest Ohio, 425 in PA.
All right. Well, I'm going
in South Utah. Jeez.
Florida's right around 385, I think, where we're at. Jessica said 385 in Palm Harbor. Yeah, that's about so tomorrow I have to drive up. I texted you guys when this happened, but I've driven up to see my mom because of my stepdad's passing. I've driven up a few times now over the course of a month and a half, 2 months. And the first trip I went, gas was like 470 something at the rest stop in the middle. And then the last trip I went, it was like 385 or something like that. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. So we got to drive up today. So we'll see what the gas price is today on the way up and see if it's down from there. I'll be sure to post that up. So,
man, I hadn't heard about your stepfather. I'm sorry to hear that.
It sucks, bro. It really sucks. That one sucked bad. But thank you. Appreciate that. Here's JD Vance talking about, I believe this is about Obama's memorandum or the JCPOA versus the memorandum, because that's been another talking point in the Mockingbird media.
Now, there are all these substantive differences as well. The Obama nuclear deal allowed enrichment. Ours will not. The Obama deal allowed the accumulation of stockpiled weapons-grade material. Ours is actually leading to the destruction of that stockpile of enriched material. So there are many differences. The Obama deal gave them over $1 billion of American money. This deal gives them $0 of American money. So a lot of substantive differences, but I think the most important differences are where we're coming at it from a position of strength and the fact that our Gulf Coast partners love this deal.
So JD kind of misspoke a little bit there. I don't believe this is calling for the destruction of their enriched uranium. It's actually the downblending of their enriched uranium, which I just learned was a phrase in that memorandum of understanding. But Trump has said, and this is something we at Badlands have talked about since the very beginning of not even the conflict, but the very beginning of Iran can have no nuclear weapon. And that is that they should absolutely be permitted to have uranium for a nuclear infrastructure, civilian infrastructure. And this is something that I think it would be insane to tell a sovereign nation that you cannot have nuclear power when the rest of the world, but so many of their neighbors are able to do that. So, but that's the big difference right there is, and the money thing is another issue. And I don't think I have a clip here, but Obama literally gave Iran, what was it, like $1.7 billion or $4 billion or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. they're trying to turn around and say Trump's giving them $300 billion. Even Bannon was talking about that. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I mean, he's always going to do that. So
I know, but
You know.
I was just listening to it, and Bannon's like, none of the Persian states, none of the Arab states, don't give them any money. And I'm like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
counter to Trump's ideas.
Well, it is, but he's also being, I think, intentionally over the top there. He's like, just steal it, just seize the money. And over the last few years, he's also talked, because that's a parallel to the situation with the frozen Russian assets that they keep talking about that are seized and being held in European banks. They're talking about just taking that money and using it to pay for the Ukraine war. And they talk about how that's going to destroy the dollar-based economy as the dollar is the reserve currency. And you're talking about the same thing here. And so when I hear that, I think Bannon is taunting the adversary by saying, like, go ahead, let's just do this. We'll end your system in one fell swoop. And, with the response to that. So that's how I interpret that. I don't think he's actually advocating for that position. I think that he's kind of like goading the enemy.
I that was the takeaway I got from it.
Okay,
as
cool.
well, because I don't think he genuinely believes that like we should just like tell the Middle East to kick rocks and F off. And I also don't think he genuinely believes that American taxpayers are in any way, shape, or form, contributing to these funds over there. It's mostly private investment, et cetera, et cetera. But
yeah,
this was these next two clips right here are the best clips in my opinion. And I'm also proud to say they were asked by two Gateway Pundit contributors, Jordan Conradson and Kara Castronova. Although I think Kara was doing it for Lindell TV, I believe. Man, I wish we could get somebody from Badlands in that press room, but
you mean in the alternative media space?
Yes,
They've
let's
opened
go.
up to this weird stage show that they're performing.
Yeah, let's go. So here's Jordan asking about Netanyahu and his cabinet. And this, by the way, this is very similar to a point. And I don't know if they listen to the show or not, but this is very similar to a point Ghost was making on Tuesday on Badlands Daily during the geopolitics segment.
There's a report in Axios that Netanyahu's fuming over this. Israel doesn't feel bound to the MOU as it relates to Lebanon. If, as you mentioned, your frustration with Israel striking in Beirut, hitting apartment buildings, if that continues, could it torpedo the deal? And what would the U.S.'s response be to a broader war in Lebanon involving Israel and Hezbollah?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals that could torpedo the deal, because I think the president's expectation is that all of our friends, the Israelis, the Arabs in the region, we're going to work together and actually see this deal to completion. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the president of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the president of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the president of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
It would have been so much better if he would have said, wake up and smell what the Rock is cooking. So this parallels kind of off of what Ghost was talking about, and he's saying Bibi is the one that's not really saying this. It's other people in his cabinet, and Ghost was saying you've got guys like Naftali Bennett, the former prime minister and the hard right person in the Israeli politics, I guess. Ben Gvir, Itamar Ben Gvir, who was the guy that famously donned the hood ornament of what was the prime minister that was assassinated? I can't remember his name, but he went on television and was like, "We've got your hood ornament. If we can get to your car, we can get to you." And then like 2 weeks later, he was assassinated. I've got that. I already saw what you pulled up. Got that. So these people on the far right are like all in on like destroy everything, crush Iran, crush Lebanon, crush it all. But here's the thing is the people on the left are in the same boat as the people on the right in that regard. Netanyahu, and this is the kind of the point that Ghost was, I believe, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I believe this is the point that Ghost was making, is that Netanyahu is kind of the cooler head in this whole situation over there. And the reason for that, and Trump is, when Barack Ravid came out and said, you'd be in jail if it wasn't for me, to Netanyahu, you got to consider, is Trump, actually I think we've all known that Trump is not going to be manipulated by Netanyahu, but is it fully the other way around where Trump has control over Netanyahu? And that is the only reason that Netanyahu is favorable in this predicament right here, because the alternative to that, whether it's Benny Gantz on the left or Gvir Bennett on the right, either way that you go, they're all greatly in favor of continuation of the war with Iran, continuation of the war against Lebanon, not the greater Israel project per se, but the expansion of Israel's borders and all that stuff. So I thought that was fascinating. I'll let you jump in on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been calling him our boy Yuhu for a few years now. He has been under a color revolution there. The idea that he was going to be sent to jail is as believable as Donald Trump being sent to jail on the fake indictments he faced over the quote unquote Joe Biden presidency, that period. There are a lot of parallels in these two stories. And I understand that people don't like Bibi. I don't like Bibi. I don't care about Bibi, but a lot of the stories that we've been told throughout his history are being told by the exact same people who called Donald Trump a racist. A rapist. Well, I guess, and a racist. But, it's really, I'm not making a declarative statement about the truth or falsity of these claims. I am suggesting that because they come from the same place and are clearly being used for the same reasons, and both of these men are facing color revolutions from within their own country by that oppositional faction, I would suggest that maybe Bibi's doing something a little bit different than making independent decisions about how to operate a war in that nation. And JD was separating Bibi from his cabinet and obviously from their legislative body and the rest of it. Same thing with Donald Trump here. And this, again, is something I've talked about for a really long time. You have to think of Trump differently from the administration because, and this upsets people, and I don't know why, but it's clear that the infiltration of the enemy is much, much deeper than the idea that it was just pulled out root and branch and gone forever when Donald Trump won the fake election of 2024. That's nonsense. These forces are still very much in the tent, and Donald Trump is trying to expose them through this whole process, and he's done it masterfully. And all of this is working out really well. But at the same time, we look at where the world's perception of Israel was before Top Gun Maverick last year, okay? And by the way, Trump said the other day that all that was done for $500,000 of nuclear dust. Or, $500 million, $500 million of nuclear dust. Not all that much money, okay, to do an operation like that. But the public perspective on Israel before this Iran thing began to now, it's not, yeah, it's collapsed in America and around the world. So one thing the people of the world are not going to be gaslit into is going to war on behalf of Israel the way we have been for decades. It is unbelievable that they were able to pull that off so successfully. Okay. So the idea that any of this is dooming or blackpilling, all of that is complete nonsense. That doesn't mean that we have to agree with the stories that we're being told about what's quote unquote actually happening over there.
This is part of the reason why, and I've been saying this for a while now. This is part of the reason why I think all of these, mainstream influencers, right? The mainstream podcasters, the popular voices, I firmly believe, whether they know it or not, they were pushed into this stance, this, anti-Semitic stance that they're taking. And then some that are completely and totally, like the Judeo-Christian is beaming out of them like it's a Juneteenth rainbow in Pride Month, right? Just flying out. Like I'm just, and I think that was all part of the op, whether they knew it or not. And you're starting to see them come home to roost. Yesterday you had Tucker coming out saying Trump made Bibi his bitch, right? When he sent this deal out without getting Israel's, opinions on it. And I think it really needed to be that way, because otherwise we would have just continued on that same track that we've been on, since probably the 30s. I don't even know, since that Judeo-Christian psyop was run on us. And Trump now, he played along on the other side, kept those people really close. And now he's making that pivot now to the side where I think we're days away from Trump just saying, Israel, you're on your own, man. You're on your own. And
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also part of the kind of program as designed. Israel wants, in many ways, to be seen as a sovereign nation doing their own thing. And so now that separation is being created. That separation has to actually exist in reality, and not just because political leaders say, we have a deal, this is the new situation. I mean, we're getting that kind of thing across the board, accompanied by a mass coordinated messaging op to convince us that what the political people are saying is what's really happening in reality. And so we need to be able to verify that in reality and understand that that separation is real, and it's not just being privatized or being reorganized, that it's actually a separation. And I think, I mean, anybody who's an Israeli nationalist, which is kind of the whole point of Israel, I think that they would want us to be seen and to actually be a sovereign and independent nation that is capable of taking care of itself.
I think in terms of the influence op and all that stuff, I think I could be off on this, but I think the Thomas Massey election was another one of perpetuation of that op, so to speak. And Trump has been wildly successful in his endorsements, right? And Ed Gallarain is no exception to that. He was the Trump endorsed candidate. There's only been a handful of races that got as much attention as the Massey one, and Ken Paxton versus Cornyn down in Texas, Cassidy's election in Louisiana. These were other examples where Trump was able to tip the scale one way or the other. But those ones were all, Trump came from behind in those ones. Paxton was massively out fundraised by John Cornyn, right? The entire establishment GOP was behind Cornyn in that race. Cassidy, same thing. Cassidy had the entire GOP behind him. Massey was out fundraised. He was the one that was playing from behind, or excuse me, he was the one that was out in front in that. He had, he was behind in the money, but he didn't come from behind and win. So Gallarain was supposed to be the winner in that based on the spending, based on spending. So I don't know if I probably should have thought that out a little bit more, but I hope that I articulated that the way.
Well, I think what you're saying is that Thomas Massey was part of the effort to kind of diminish the public stature of our relationship with Israel. Am I getting that correct?
Well, yeah, but also a lot of people show Trump's influence over, the elections in terms of going for the underdog candidate per se.
Mm-hmm.
Gallarain was not the underdog, right? Gallarain financially, funding wise, was the guy that was out in front. And so, when people go out there and they say, Trump took down Massey, Cornyn, Cassidy, and whatever, those are different those are different things right there. You know, like Massey had the grass allegedly, and I don't want to get into all the technicalities that triggers people so much still, but it's just weird, man. And I think all of this is going to start coming together. I think you're going to see, you know, maybe, I don't want to say a reunification, but you're going to see the whatever they call them. What do they call like MTG and Tucker? What's the nickname? Is that FAGA or is that Panikins or?
Oh, geez. I don't
even know what.
Yeah, I don't know, but the cast of Tucker Carlson is clearly part of a coordinated messaging op, and that includes Thomas Massey. It includes Marjorie Taylor Greene. It includes JD Vance and Joe Kent. You can just keep on going down the line. And these are all people who look like they are positioning themselves to have the post to claim this mantle of being post-MAGA. There's something that's a little bit more unifying. JD's always playing it right down the center. He's defending parts of what Donald Trump is saying, but he's defending it in certain ways for a certain audience. And, you know, to be seen as anti-war and anti-Israel right now, that is the kind of popular mainstream middle narrative road that's being pushed by the social media platforms. People are going to come together on those things away from Donald Trump, or at least that's how it was set up to operate. And Trump being so close in his messaging and in the, you know, the activities that we're being told stories about, his coordination with Israel. You know, all the people that are saying that Trump is a Zionist stooge and Trump is controlled by Israel and controlled by the Epstein files, which is another one of their messaging ops. All of that provides Trump the defense that he needs to never be positioned as like this new Hitler, right? You can't simultaneously be Israel's tool and Israel's stooge and be kissing up to Bibi, but also be Hitler. And now as this story winds down, at least for now, who knows how long this could go. Now Trump pulls away. He steps back from Israel. Everybody gets mad at Trump for stepping back away from Israel. And now JD's language about Israel sounds rather soft because Trump, again, is leading the way out of that thing. And so he's got himself in exactly the position he needs to be in, while these other people are going to be holding the bag because they're still irrelevant.
The other thing I'll point out just real quick on the people that Tucker has interviewed, and I think I brought this up when we had that, you know, Israel spying raised to highest critical level. The person they mentioned, Elbridge Colby, both him and Dan Caldwell, who also was mentioned, were interviewed by Tucker after their ousting from the Pentagon. So thought that was kind of interesting as well.
Well, another character, and maybe you'll bring this up today, but the Tulsi Gabbard stuff, she's a longtime Tucker Carlson person. She used to host when Tucker was absent. And so the people who have been publicly identified as opposed to the Iran war, JD, Tulsi, you know, they're all, you can see them all forming together in that thing. And they're reaching across to people like Ro Khanna, which we've talked about a number of times. So none of this is by accident. You know, this is something that's been set up for years, and all of the messaging over the course of those years has been scripted and coordinated to lead to moments like this. And, you know, as someone who's been pointing this stuff out now for 4 years, you would hope that people would begin to like really wrestle with this, separate from the fact that these are favored TV characters that we believe are our allies fighting for us, despite them just being powerful strangers on a screen. And understand that this is not, I mean, man, at this point, it would be, and you never want to rule something like this out, but the idea that all of these people are coordinating together to just help Trump and not to form their own thing and take political power that moves Trump to the side after they did that thing in 2022, gosh, man, these would be the best actors ever.
What was the thing in 2022?
Through the Ron DeSantis campaign.
Well, that
began in 2022.
So I would make the argument that that was what started to fracture the entire base, but by the base I mean the Republican Party. I don't mean MAGA per se. I think that's what started the filtration operation.
I mean, I would suggest it started before that, because, you know, the neocons and the establishment Republicans were already kind of beginning to be marginalized over time. And it's funny because the people attacking Donald Trump for this Iran deal are at best sometimes Trumpers at different points. Like Mark Levin goes back and forth. Ben Shapiro goes back and forth. But even we can see on the other side, obviously not aligned with Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, at least on this level of things, we have people that these people were sometimes Trump, the tech people, the establishment Republicans, the kind of more libertarian people, the Maha people, all of these people helped form that 2024 kind of coalition. It's not a real coalition. It was a manufactured coalition, but these people aren't legitimate MAGA Trump supporters.
Right. And to quote Mitch Hedberg, I've learned that a duck's opinion on me is determined by whether or not I have bread.
Yes.
And when you talk about Shapiro and Levin, Mark Levin, Levin, not Levin bread, but Mark Levin, it is weighed heavily on whether or not Israel has a right to defend itself. And so I will say that you take that away and you're going to watch. If we do get that moment, and this will bring us back into the press conference. If we do get that moment when Trump says, Israel, you're on your own, you are going to watch all of the Mark Levins, the Ben Shapiros. They're already starting to do it. You're going to watch them flip on Trump faster than you could ever imagine.
Yeah. And if all of these characters are just Judas goading the worst people in the Republican Party and the worst people in politics and the worst people online, I am 100% for it. And I will high five every one of them and thank them till the end of days. There's just no reason to give any of them the benefit of the doubt at this point.
All right. So here's the second question, or the second clip that I want to play. This was Kara Castronova for Lindell TV asking this question.
And second, Mr. Vice President, President Trump has been vocal lately about his disapproval for Bibi Netanyahu's attacks on Lebanon. Has the administration spoken to Bibi Netanyahu directly about the president's concerns recently, and what is the feedback from Israel?
Yeah, so we speak to Bibi or speak to somebody in the Israeli government, just as we speak to the Gulf Coast Coalition, our regional partners, pretty much every day, at least at some high level of our government. Look, the president's been very clear. He does not withdraw from Israel. No one could withdraw from another country the right of self-defense. Israel has the right to defend itself. But fundamentally, the Israelis, just like everybody else, have to respect this peace process that is fundamentally good for them and good for the entire region. What the president gets grown frustrated sometimes is that we seem to be right on the cusp of a major breakthrough in the agreement, and then all of a sudden there's a major explosion that goes off in a civilian population center in Beirut, and a lot of people who have nothing to do with Hezbollah lose their lives. That's not acceptable. That's the sort of thing that we've asked for closer coordination so that we ensure it doesn't happen. And our message to the Israelis, just as our message to everybody else, is fundamentally, we want this peace process to be good for you. We do not want Hezbollah attacking Israel, but in order to ensure that that happens, we have got to actually build the kind of regional framework that can cut off the money to Hezbollah, cut off Iranian support for Hezbollah, and also ensure that Lebanon's territorial sovereignty is respected by all parties. And the difference.
Did you know, Chris, that for several years now, the United States has been entirely funding the Lebanese army and the Lebanese security service, that the security service is rooted or excuse me, tasked with rooting out Israeli spies amongst them? Did you know we've been funding that?
No, that's new information to me.
Yeah, I was gonna let me see if I could pull this post up real quick. But me and Ghost talked about this probably about 3 years ago.
Wow.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. I had it up earlier this week and we didn't get a chance to talk about it. So it only take me. Oh, here it is right here. Yeah, so this is a post I made back in October of 2023. And this is a tablet here. The Biden administration allocated $72 million to pay the salaries of both the ISF, the internal security forces of Lebanese and the Lebanese armed forces. One of ISF's big tasks is to target Israeli spy networks inside of Lebanon. And then we continued that funding. the most critical additional threat to Israel is from Hezbollah based on Israel's northern border. I had another thread on this. This isn't the one. Oh, yeah. Well, is this the continuation? Sorry, I'm doing this off cuff here. U.S. Embassy Beirut, the LAF ISF Livelihood Support Program. Every soldier, police officer provides them $100 per month. But then if you jump down here, on average, a soldier used to earn about $800 a month before the crisis, but the value of the Lebanese currency, the pound, has since crashed, and salaries are just now worth around $100. So the $100 a month that we're paying is actually the entirety of the Lebanese army. So we're funding the Lebanese ISF to root out Israeli spies inside of Lebanon. And if you read Trump's agreement, the MOU, he is very clear on, the attacks against Lebanon, not persisting. And of course, we'll get to it in just a second here, but they have now persisted. By the way, the memorandum might be off again. I don't know. This is that cycle. Vance postpones Iran talks. They're saying it's because of logistics. I think we all know. I think we all know why he's not going over there. Newsweek, Israel furious with Trump's Iran deal, bombs Lebanon again. Israel themselves said that they carried out strikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon overnight. And then, of course, this is exactly who we were talking about earlier, Ben-Gvir. And by the way, the prime minister that was assassinated, not necessarily by him, was Itzhak Rabin. I couldn't think of the name. Itzhak Rabin back in 1995. Ben-Gvir put this out on X, and this is the ranting of a madman. For every tear of an Israeli mother, 1,000 Lebanese mothers must weep. All of Lebanon must burn. With all due respect to the Americans. You said all due respect. You could say whatever you want after that. Who told that joke? As long as you start a sentence with all due respect, you could say whatever you want after that.
I know the bit, but I don't know.
Oh, Israel must make it clear to the entire world that the blood of our sons and the security of our citizens are not forfeit. All of Lebanon must burn. Our supreme duty is to protect the citizens of Israel and the soldiers of the IDF, and this commitment takes precedence over every other consideration. I think it might have been Norm Macdonald, actually. Either Norm Macdonald or somebody from the Redneck comedy tour.
Okay, well, I've got the machine working on it.
Okay, I told the prime minister, even in our private meetings, for every tear of an Israeli mother, 1,000 Lebanese mothers must weep. Enough with the ping pong. In the Middle East, you don't win with measured response and restraint. You need to go berserk, to obliterate, to crush the terror. Those are the rantings of a psychopath.
I can't imagine if anyone other than an Israeli Zionist said something like that, it would be acceptable for anyone. If the Ayatollah said stuff like that, that phrase would be used for decades to justify war with Iran, and similar statements like that have been used to justify that. Obviously, that's abhorrent, and I would never suggest that everybody thinks that way, but that certainly does. The fact that someone feels protected and safe saying that sort of thing in public on a public platform suggests that there are a lot of people, that he's aware that there's a lot of people who share that sentiment and are willing to support him in saying that. And that alone is some statement on on the dynamics that we're really dealing with here.
I don't understand how that post is allowed to stay up. That is a direct call to violence. That is an incitement of violence. That is an actionable threat from an individual that has the capacity and the means to be able to execute that threat. That is a little bit more than political back and forth, I would say. But yeah, I don't know. It continues on. One last clip here. You got Mark Levin in response to open source intel saying that Netanyahu informed Trump that they do not find Israel is bound by this deal. Levin says there's not a rational person on the planet who thought otherwise. Many of the irrational are on this site, defending Iran, Hezbollah, and other terror regimes and groups. I wouldn't expect Donald Trump agreeing to any such terms if it involved terrorists south of the border shooting missiles and drones into our country. Another absurd, fatal flaw in the MOU and capitulation to Iran and Hezbollah. Calling it a capitulation. Like I said, they're going to turn on Trump. They're going to turn on him, and it's going to be glorious.
Yes, but again, these people have always gone back and forth on Trump. They've turned on Trump a number of times. All of them wanted to see him replaced with an establishment Republican in the 2024 primary cycle, which again, fake election, all of it was a show. So you can dig through that to whatever level you like. But these people have all spent adequate time in vehement opposition to Donald Trump over the years.
Yep. Did you find it?
Sure did. And you're going to love it.
Oh, maybe that's where it was from. I'm almost positive that a comedian says that as well, but it's an old joke. That's an old joke as well. President Trump truthing this back out. I think this is kind of, as a shot back at them. The United States is committed to peace, and we encourage everyone in the Middle East region to maintain their commitment to allowing our negotiations to beautifully unfold. The markets are loving what is happening with oil prices way down and stocks way up. We expect a complete ceasefire on all fronts, including Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Israel. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Let's go.
Ryan, I have found that many comedians have done that bit, and I believe that the original, or at least the machine believes that the original, was Dom Herrera.
Interesting. I don't know that I've ever heard his routines, so I couldn't comment. Speaking of comedy, Chris, did you ever have Hillary Clinton endorsing a Trump peace plan on your bingo card? Now, granted, it's not the Iran deal, but it is the Gaza deal.
Nice. I'm going to say something positive about Trump. So hold on.
Okay. I've got a grip on my chair right now.
Trump's 20-point plan for Gaza is actually a pathway to security for Israel, reconstruction for Gaza, and the possibility of self-determination, however defined, for the Palestinians. There are a lot of people who, reject it because Trump did it, but it's the only game in town. There's nothing.
Sounds like she's. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think she'd say the same thing about the MOU.
Yeah, I don't know, but man, it sounds like she wants the Riviera. Seriously, I mean, that's gonna be a major construction project, and I mean, these things have been planned for years. So we can talk about all of this as the result of these wars, but these things have been planned for years, and especially the transfer in resource trades and stuff that's happening as a result of Iran taking control of the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to charge people, but the United States is going to make money on it as well. All of these things, they didn't just get figured out over the last few weeks with these negotiations. And I thought one of the funniest parts this week, remember when because we're coming up on guard again, when we were in Nashville, that's when they released the Iran deal for the first time. It was like a 12-point plan back then. And so, we've been through so many cycles of all this. It's just totally discombobulating. And that, I believe, is the point.
Did you see JD Vance on Gutfeld with Jessica Tarloff and the clip where she's saying that Trump is going to turn all of, the Middle East into a resort and like an entertainment park and all this stuff. And she's hoping, because she was on a show with JD Vance on that Gutfeld episode, that she'll get a promo code. And JD Vance chimes in and says, yeah, it's promo code Trump 2028.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't see that. That's funny. Well, good for JD. I mean, listen, man, JD might be exactly the same sort of secret agent that you're describing with Thomas Massey and the rest of the cast of Tucker Carlson.
That would be, I have not even kind of pondered that idea.
That's the So I don't lean that direction, but that's the other side of the case that I normally make. I mean, the people who JD came up with, those people like Peter Thiel, for instance, that seems to be one of like the final boss level aspects of the adversary. Now, if JD's been brought in and he's being used as a tool to sell the real America First Trump agenda to those very people while rugging them, by all means, that's absolutely fantastic. JD would be a hero, and he's would then have taken many slings and arrows over that time, including from myself. I just don't see any reason to believe that.
Yeah. And Sammy, JD did say that on Gutfeld, not on the 5. It was on Gutfeld. He was on that show that night. Tarloff was the resident token liberal on the show. All right, guys, we hear a lot about
twice that day.
We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part that most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you are in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, and everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want, whether it's Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code, click the link in the description, and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and boom, you are in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. All right. And I got to apologize. I screwed up yesterday, and I did not read the Rumble rants, so I just want to hit these real quick. I promised I would do this. So we did read the new case one real quick. Reberhart, Alpha, I love you, bro, but I believe I'm with CannCon on Tucker. Time will tell. And we were talking about the op coming to an end. Boba Fu, CannCon and Alpha are always interesting. Always an interesting perspective. Great show. And again, I apologize, guys, for not reading those yesterday. And let me just run through. We got a lot of rants coming in for today already. So let me just make sure none of these are applicable to the segments before we move on to Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, and the demise of NATO. Harold_Patriot, thank you, CannCon, for putting golf together. I'm sure that has been a lot of work. And thank you, Chris, for considering participating in golf. Definitely, maybe. Are you playing?
Maybe. No.
Oh, man. Are you participating?
But I might. Well, that's the question. Whether
you got to let me know by tomorrow, because I got to put it into the people.
Oh, because you need like a seat in a golf cart or something?
Yeah, I have to prepay for everything.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So that's why I've been emailing people telling them like, you got to pay in advance, because I have to pay out of my pocket to the company. So I think we're up to like 20 golfers and like 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
very cool. Okay. Well, you and I can talk offline about that later.
Okay. And by the way, if you guys are going to be at Deadwood Thursday morning, 8 a.m. at Boulder Canyon Golf Course in Sturgis, we're going to be playing a round of golf. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of riders, a lot of players. Just email me, cancon@cancon.net. Got to get it done by tomorrow. So hit me up. S. Busen, if you haven't covered the Tulsi release before you see this, I actually was not planning on covering it, but let me see what this is real quick. Because I think it's just the Wuhan lab, right? And it's like, we're not going to get anything new on the Wuhan lab. I'm not impressed by that. Doc from Amish PA. So the Middle East is still suffering from the effects of the giant discombobulator. Pretty much. Don't know if the other one hit, so here's an extra $5 as a test. We got you, Doc, from Amish PA. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yes, we are suffering from the discombobulator in Iran. It is going full steam ahead. All right, let's get into these clips here from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth talking about NATO and the U.S.'s contributions.
And so we're doubling down on our effort to make NATO what it always was supposed to be, a balanced alliance with Europe in the lead for its own defense, NATO 3.0. And to make that a reality, I'm announcing today a 6-month Department of War review that will examine America's force posture and basing in Europe. Up to 6 months, could be less. Let's call it the NATO 3.0 review.
Now, I just want to pause right there because we saw that reconciliation bill that's coming out, and they called it Recon 3.0. Like, is there like a theme here with 3.0? Are we going with 3.0 for a reason? Is it Trump's third term?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just supposed to sound like the new and improved version.
I mean, Recon, which is, often affiliated with the military, 3.0, NATO 3.0. Was there a NATO 2.0? Where did I miss NATO 2.0? Where was that?
This review will be conducted with the benefit of inputs from the United States military, from European Command. It will involve consultations with the U.S. Congress and with our allies. But make no mistake about it, this will be a real review. It will be designed to ensure that NATO is moving fast and irreversibly toward Europe leading, stepping up to take primary responsibility for the defense of Europe, stepping up to ensure our forces are postured for America's global needs, and stepping up to make sure that our access, basing, and overflight are clearly delineated and assured. Any other country would do the same.
All right. So you have Hegseth kind of laying the groundwork there, saying that, the United States, we're done footing the bill for Europe. Europe is going to have to take over responsibility for Europe. We're not going to be running a $1.5 trillion military budget, maintaining 300 or 400 military bases throughout, Europe and that area in protection of European interests. We're going to start clawing that stuff back. You guys got to take over. Worth $40 trillion in debt coming up on, and something's got to give. Do you want to comment on that before I play this next one?
No, although I will say just yesterday, Trump said that he's brought $19 trillion worth of investments in since the beginning of this term. So if you take him seriously on that stuff, I would imagine that this number is going to keep climbing because it has the entire time. And at some point, it's going to hit that $40 trillion number.
And he's just going to be like, you know what? We're going to wipe the debt.
Well, yeah. I mean, at some point, they have to bottom out the system. That's literally what they're doing with the financial system. And, who knows if they're going to call it a jubilee, but I wouldn't be surprised. At some point, there has to be an explanatory layer for how that happened. And that's what we're being given.
Yeah, we're doing Creature from Jekyll Island, and we just finished part 1, and we just finished it, and it got into at the very end there how there's no differentiation between the globalist and the communist, and they are all beholden to each other. And the Bolsheviks were funded by the IMF as much as anybody else was, and Trotsky and Lenin and all those other ones are all the same. They're just a different breed. They just keep, the balance of power, so to speak. And, when you look at how horribly America has been just absolutely raked over the coals with all of that, at some point you got to say, fuck it. I'm done with this system. And I think the people are at that point. At what point is the country as a collective, as a whole, our government, so to speak, going to say the same thing?
Yeah.
All right, here's Hegseth putting a little teeth behind the threats to European NATO nations.
At the same time, going forward, our annual NATO dues will be contingent on other countries meeting their defense spending targets. Where other allies do not spend with urgency, our dues contributions will go down. NATO will be a two-way street. It's only common sense. America cannot care for or pay more for Europe's defense than our allies do. And this review will think outside the box. Our national defense strategy states clearly that we're going to incentivize and enable our allies to step up and do their part. So we're going to keep a close eye on allies who are not doing that and who say no, or maybe, or wait and see when it matters most. It's a review that some countries will fail and others will pass with flying colors. In the end, the review is intended to both improve U.S. force posture and basing and strengthen NATO 3.0. It's intended to be constructive. as we have always been.
And then I think the last part is this little clip right here.
Must take primary responsibility. Europe can and must take primary responsibility for its conventional defense as it pledged at the Hague summit.
So then at the very end there, reiterating that Europe has to take control of its own defense. We're not even going to pay our dues. Our dues are going to be based on the amount you guys, an equal amount that you guys are contributing based, per capita, I'm sure. But as it sits right now, we still pay more than I think the top 19 other members of NATO combined by a lot.
Did you see that report yesterday? I think John and I will probably talk about it tomorrow night. But did you see that report about the dialogue group that Peter Thiel's involved with? It's basically like this ultra elite kind of back channel communication and organization thing. Let me pull it up. It was in Wired, but I thought one of the really interesting things about this. So here is the article.
While Chris is pulling that up, guys, smash that thumbs up if you have not done so yet. A little over 3,000 watching. So hit that thumb if you can. And here is the article that Chris was referring to.
Okay, so leak exposes members of Peter Thiel's secretive dialogue society. More than 200 of the world's elites registered for a retreat whose agenda runs from panels on cult building and sex to prepping for World War III. An associated app offers matchmaking. Skipping down here, let me just find this quickly. Oh, darn it. Hold on. I need to get the archived link, which will take me 2 seconds.
By the way, Peter Thiel in that picture right there totally looks like he's a mouse that was converted to a human being. or maybe even a rat. Like
you're not allowed to say stuff like that, Brian.
Oh, are we going to get kicked off now by the AI censorship overlord?
Could be
everything that we do.
All right. So this is about 2/3 of the way down the article. It says, together alongside the mundane fare of a typical thought leadership conference, the documents show an extraordinary convergence of power. The registration records list General Alexis Grinkovich, NATO's supreme allied commander in Europe and the head of U.S. European Command, who took the post in July 2025 and is recorded on the leaked list as having attended dialogue gatherings since 2021. The website directory names sitting Trump administration officials, 2 U.S. senators, 6 members of the PayPal mafia, a former Middle East chief of intelligence, and a sitting ambassador to the United States, along with the founders and directors of many of the country's largest surveillance data broker and advertising data companies. And so just yet another kind of secret society who's planning how the world should be run. And I need to pursue that and actually have a look at that list. But the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO.
The SAC.
Yep.
That's what we call him, the SAC. Well, in reading Creature from Jekyll Island, we make up crass nicknames for all the acronyms that we deal with in that, like the FDIC is the FDIC. And we go through. But, the recurring theme throughout there is the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations. And I'm sure they still have a lot of relevancy today. But I wonder if, kind of the Palantir space is going to start replacing, that. They certainly have the capabilities, the technical capabilities that are well beyond just about anything on the planet, Palantir as a collective. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting, man. I'm looking forward to hearing that discussion tomorrow night. In line with the, I just thought this was hilarious. So apparently Trump came out and was saying something about Giorgia Meloni, that she was begging him for a picture or something. I don't know. I guess he said this on like a news outlet, and Meloni responded, and you can see that. Look at that face. First and foremost, she looks pissed. But I'm just gonna read what she says because it's in Italian, and I don't speak Italian. I'm a horrible Sicilian, but here's what she says. She says, something deserves immediate response. Donald Trump's statements are completely fabricated. I'm frankly astonished. I don't know why the president of the United States behaves this way with his allies. It's not the first time this has happened. I can only say that it's a shame he doesn't have the same determination with the enemies of the West, with the enemies of the United States, with leadership with whom he is much more accommodating. But there's one thing he must remember: Italy and I never beg. Now, does that sound like he's talking about a picture? He's got to be more friendly. Why does he behave this way with his allies while he's pandering to the people in the West? What allies?
Well, that's certainly a good question. I haven't spent enough time on this to know what I think is going on here, but there have been back and forths like this with Maloney before.
Yes.
They also had a pretty interesting, she had some interesting comments a couple of days ago. And who knows what this posturing is for, but she talked about how, she and Donald Trump had a disagreement, but they're leaders of different places with different sets of priorities, but the same ultimate agenda that they are both aligned with, and that they were handling things like normal, mature people would handle them. And so I thought that was actually pretty good a couple of days ago. So we'll see where this goes. But
Trump should just, truth out, just vaguely, with friends like these, who needs enemies in response to that.
Well, he might go totally over the top and say that she's like the most incompetent, evil leader that has ever existed anywhere.
It'd be even funnier if he did it with the Finding Nemo joke version, the Marlin joke. With friends like these, who needs an enemies? It's a clown.
Wow, I get it.
All right.
No, that's good.
Just a quick update here, guys. We talked about this story a couple weeks ago. The illegal aliens in Massachusetts that were Dominicans that were exporting SNAP benefits or SNAP, goods that they received from SNAP benefits to the Dominican Republic and then selling them for cash. DHS, 11 illegal aliens indicted in $1.4 million benefit fraud scheme in Massachusetts. The DOJ announced 15 suspects, 11 illegals, and 4 U.S. citizens charged for their role in more than a $1.4 million fraud scheme, including the SNAP benefits, mass health benefits, and disability and unemployment benefits, among others. And jump down here. And like I said, they're all Dominican, except for this one guy, Mitul Patel, who is from India, a criminal illegal alien from India, who is charged with conspiracy to commit visa fraud. So that's the only anomaly in that group right there. But there's your update. And while it says 1.4 million, based on the reporting we saw from, I think that was Muckraker that broke that story, it seems like it could be a lot more than just that. So one last story. Well, not for the day, but just one last story before we start getting into some election, because Aswavana, right? A minor league baseball team cancels Pride Night after players refuse to wear rainbows. And a team in Pennsylvania, York, Pennsylvania, could get less than 9 players on their 28-man team to wear the jersey with the rainbow. Now, remember, earlier this week, we reported on the San Francisco Giants pitchers that the one guy put Genesis 12 on his hat, which, talks about the rainbow. And the Christian, the relationship with God. And then we had the other pitcher who just flat out refused to wear the rainbow hat. Well, now this team, minor league team, but still, my favorite part here is the coach's comment, or the owner's comment, says, quote, "I'm disappointed that we're at this point, and I recognize the players' plight and their unwillingness to cross their line. I also think tolerance is not acceptance," Shipley said, the owner. "I was just asking for tolerance from the team, and they were unwilling to navigate that with me." So you are asking for acceptance. The second you ask them to put on that uniform, you are asking them to accept and endorse that.
I don't see how that can be questioned. I mean, this owner is just such a cuck. The idea that people have to wear symbols of political movements that they oppose or even don't support. Like, of course, wearing that is support of the cause. And that's what it's for. It's a PR campaign. They want to photograph these players wearing the gay flag so that can be used in the future. Look, these people, all these people. Imagine how that'll look in 50 years or 100 years, looking back on this era. That's what the point is. They are creating a future false history through these psyops that they're running now. and the dissemination of all of these messaging campaigns. That's the point. When people look back, what are they going to think? And we should project backwards when we think about these things into the histories that we've been told and the pictures that we see from World War II, from the civil rights era, from the Vietnam protests, and the rest of it. Look back, apply what we can see in the world right now to how these things are structured, because they simply and easily map onto the old stories. They just tell the same stories over and over again. Okay. Burning Bright and I talk about this stuff all the time on Story Hour, but the whole thing about history repeating, history does repeat because these are stories that get recorded as history, and they're told the same way over and over and over again because they are designed to have the same emotional impact and control collective behavior in the same ways by forming the same collective beliefs. That's what this stuff is for. It's not for something else. They're creating a future false history so that we understand that our world is always a certain way, so that we have the same response, we behave the same way in the real world, and then we help the agenda progress, never having a single clue that we've been hoodwinked at every step of that.
Yeah, spot on. I was going to say, I wonder if they could sue for sexual harassment.
Well, you know what, man? That's actually an interesting angle. They should be able to sue for that.
Absolutely. Because that is literally a representation of your sexuality, who you prefer to have sex with. And I think forcing somebody to accept that or tolerate that, whichever one you want to go with, I think putting it on is the acceptance, right? Like I can tolerate, like just thinking of our sponsors, right? If we had a sponsor and we do get stuff like this where they'll come and be like, hey, do you want to cover this particular sponsor? And I'll be like, no, it's not really my thing. And they're like, okay, fine. And somebody else will do it. Now, tolerating is saying, okay, I'll stay on Badlands, even though we're going to promote this, somewhere else. And I'm not saying that this has happened. Acceptance means that I am putting it out there and I'm putting my name and my brand behind that. And that's acceptance. That's not tolerance. So for that coach to say, or the owner to say, I was just asking them to tolerate it. No, tolerate would have been to wear their normal uniform and go out on the field with the other people that wanted to cuck to that mindset, and pun intended. So anyways, I thought that was really excellent. So let's see if we can get that spreading. That started in San Francisco, of all places. Started in San Francisco with the Giants, and let's see if it can keep moving. All right, Asawavana time. From the AP, Arizona prosecutors dismissing fake electors case, but vow to seek new indictment. This story will not go away, but it's now official that case is dismissed as of right now. Chris Mays says that she is going to bring it back up. New York Post, which they took away the Knicks Post, thank God. The Knicks York Post, that was so stupid. FBI agents descend on Skid Row in massive voter fraud probe after stunning claims of election bribery. This is on the back of the Save America Act. About 20 agents swooped into the notorious blighted area after homeless people staying there claimed that they'd been bribed with cash to sign multiple registration forms, forge signatures, and fill out voter information for the mayoral and gubernatorial primaries. Plainclothes agents questioned Skid Row residents, asking if they were paid to vote or aware of others who were approached with the offer. The DOJ would only confirm that federal agents were investigating a quote-unquote criminal matter and conducted up to 50 interviews. However, Kash Patel put out on X, quote, securing our elections is of the utmost importance of this FBI. If you mess with our elections, we will find you. So threatening. This all came a day after the LA City Council voted to move forward with a controversial proposal introduced by a socialist council member to allow immigrant non-citizens to vote in city and school board elections. And then lastly, right here, it says a review of records by the Post identified more than 7,600 registered voters linked to shelters and other social service entities. A homeless service drop-in center in Venice had 185 registered voters tied to its address. That same organization received $600,000 in taxpayer-funded grants awarded by Rahman while she chaired the city council's Housing and Homelessness Committee. Long-winded way of saying they're looking into it, but I hope if the scope, and again, I think they'll figure this out, but if the scope of what they're looking into is, are there 7,600 homeless people that are registered to vote and cast a ballot and were paid to cast that ballot. That's not what took place, I don't think. I think what took place is with universal mail-in ballot in California, they were able to get as many ballots as they wanted, probably tens of thousands, right? And go there 3-4 days a week, like the people have attested to. Go there 3-4 days a week and just give them ballots and say, fill this out. It's not being filled out in your name. It's not being attributed to you. It's being attributed to whoever that mail-in envelope is going to be attributed to. And this is why in 2022, when they did the primaries in Nevada, in 2022, when they did the primaries down there, there was it might have been 2024 in the presidential. There were people that started going in and checking that did not vote, right? Because Trump caucused, it was the primary, because Trump caucused, Nikki Haley primaried. So you had to fill out a ballot for Nikki Haley. You didn't for President Trump. And there were people that went. We had one of the ladies on Why We Vote. They checked their voter status knowing that they had not voted, and they were credited with a vote on the Nevada Secretary of State website. And they said there was a hiccup in the website, technical glitch, human error, and then we never heard anything else about that. And so, long way of saying, I think these people the homeless people are just an assembly line of people filling out votes for people that don't plan on voting.
Yeah. It could be that for sure. And I mean, if nothing else, they're being used for, as you said, the creation of the ballot in the first place. Do they take it to these people to fill out? Well, maybe they do, because it provides another layer of protection for the people running this scheme, when they can say, oh, actually, that was just a homeless person that filled out 100 of these ballots. You can put that homeless person in jail, but every other part of the system is still operating properly. We got those ballots. We counted them properly. We properly reported the results. We gave power over to the declared winner of this election after the votes were properly counted. I mean, every step in the chain is intentionally designed to create opportunities for unaccountable, you can call it fraud, but it's just the entire election is a psyop. So this kind of provides narrative defense and a backup system if anybody can actually check to that degree. And of course, no one can. But one way or another, they're going to generate a ballot trail to fortify whatever result they intend to report to the public.
Right. Yeah. And that has been, one of the realizations of so many people, especially with California. The thing is that expands well beyond California. California is just under the spotlight right now. Washington State, same thing. Oregon, same thing. I mean, every state has laws that, perpetuate the voter fraud, right? That allow it to persist and allow it to exist. Colorado, Ash and I talk all the time about Colorado when they're allowed to, pre-scan mail-in ballots. We're not tallying them. We're not seeing the results. Bullshit. You absolutely can see the results. The machine can formulate a report. Oh, by the way, it can delete any evidence that report was run. And oh, by the way, Jenna Griswold herself said, make sure your machines don't accidentally connect to the internet. So it could be run remotely. Somebody else could access your system, and pull the reports from the ballots that you pre-scanned, and you would never know that somebody did that. And, whether it's that or whether it's in Michigan where they release in other states where they release the active voter rolls in real time updates, right? This was U.S. Digital Response in the 2020 election. This was was it Spitzer Rubinstein? No, it was Spitzer Rubinstein reaching out and saying, we need to get access to the APL. Not the APL. We need access to your election database in Wisconsin to be able to update it in real time. And the whole thing is just a system that is manufactured. It is generated to manufacture massive amounts of fraud.
Yeah. And, in the chat, as we always do, one of the complaints is, well, what's the solution? Well, here's the thing. Discussing solutions with people who don't even admit that there's a problem or don't understand that problem is pointless. Okay. And it's not that you're stupid for not understanding or wrapping your head around it yet. We're just not at the stage of discussing solutions. We have to be clear on what the problem is so that we know what problem it is we're attempting to solve. Most people are like, okay, I get the elections are rigged or stolen or fraudulent or even fake. How do we solve that? As though the problem is just, let's solve the system of elections. The problem is much deeper than that. Okay. If we're a country that has been operating on the understanding that all of the people ruling us and putting all of these policies in place are legitimately elected to rule us, and they're not, well, then there's a much bigger problem that has to be unwound. And whatever solution we're going to discuss with the elections has to account for the big picture understanding of what the actual problem is. So right now, we are in the understanding the problem phase. And if we have to repeat all of these steps for 4 years or 5 years, we're going to keep getting the hose again. We could have reached these conclusions 4 or 5 years ago, but people are resistant to understanding these conclusions. And so we haven't gotten to that point. And every year or every 2 years, everybody reinvests themselves in the election cycle, makes their entire life about winning elections for one party or the other, and then filters every issue in the world through how it affects electoral politics. We're being told to think about the Iran war based on how it's going to affect the midterms. Well, Donald Trump has said multiple times now that he doesn't care what happens in the midterms. He's not helping the Republicans. He's making it harder for them to pass the SAVE Act. We have to understand why he's doing those things. It's because he doesn't want the election hood to be pulled over people's eyes again. At some point, we have to be able to talk about the contours of the problem and what that problem means without wanting someone to tell us from on high, here's the solution, vote for the SAVE Act. Now we've got problem solved. No, that's not how it works, okay? If we are stuck in that position and asking for a solution when the problem is not understood and not broadly understood, which, by the way, you need widespread understanding of that problem in order to implement a solution. We're talking about elections here, okay? The public has to know that the elections were actually stolen and actually fake and understand the big picture problem on a widespread basis, or the public will reject it. And then there's no point in having elections in the first place. The elections, if they are real, are to record the public sentiment, okay? If the public sentiment is that elections are still real, well, we're going to have these fake elections for the foreseeable future. So if you want a solution at some point in the future, focus on everyone understanding the problem. And if you make your life about winning fake elections and you filter your political understanding through electoral politics, you're never going to get there, period. There's nothing else to be said about it, okay? Presenting solutions to people who don't understand the problem means that you are trying to take power from those people. Hey, I got this. Here's the solution. Do this thing. We'll be all good. That ain't how it works.
Well, so I do think there are people that understand the problem. And I think Badlanders in general understand the problem better than
100%.
Probably 99.9% of other people out there.
But that's the problem. We need all those other people.
Of course. But it doesn't mean we can't still discuss the problems. At the same time, trying to articulate the actual fundamental problem of stolen and fake elections to fake elections. I don't, you can take stolen, yes or no. You can take that out if it's a partisan, invoking emotional response. But so earlier this week, and I cannot remember where I saw this. I'm hoping the chat can remember. Somebody was talking about, mail-in ballots, voting on a hand-marked paper ballot counted at the precinct level and all that stuff. And they said, and I can't remember who this was. I don't think it was a Badlander. I think this was a clip they were playing. And the guy said, well, remember, elections were stolen in the 1800s and they voted on hand-marked paper ballots. So saying get rid of machines is not going to do anything to fix, the problem, or so to speak. The problem with that is, and again, one of my solutions, if I had to present at least the developmental idea of a solution, would be the hand-marked paper ballot counted at the precinct, hand counted at the precinct level. And it's been, put out there so many times by us that it's like beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
But the key and distinct difference that differentiates it from the past, and when past elections could have been stolen that way, is that we do have technology that can bolster the security behind an election run like that. It has nothing to do with the actual tabulation of the votes. It has to do with the security around the votes, right? We're taking all the technology and putting it into the election equipment, the counting software, the IP behind it, and all that bullshit. It doesn't need to go there. It's a fundamentally simple process. What you need to do is put it around the security in order to ensure that that's done right. And that can be done with live streams, right? Everybody should be able to access the live stream, sign on and watch the counting of votes and watch them checking a box right above it. This is a vote for Trump. Everybody can see that. Everybody can agree with that. If you don't, you press a button, timestamp it, boom, you can challenge that ballot. And so, that was the point I was trying to make, is that there is a solution. We only have a foundation for it. It needs to be developed more. But like Chris said, people won't even fucking acknowledge the problem. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And we're one last point, Chris. We are perpetually in an election cycle now. We go from the midterm, we go from the presidential election to maybe like 2 or 3 months while we're counting the votes and making sure everything's up and up. Maybe 2 or 3 months where we're like, yeah, go ahead and do all your election stuff now, your integrity, your research and all that. Okay, by the way, we're into the next election. Move on. We're done. We'll move on. And it's like, start rooting for the red guy or the blue guy or the donkey or the elephant, the R or the D. It's so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I would suggest that part of that would also be to decentralize things further and maybe go back to the original form of our elections and do everything from the local level so that there's local accountability. And then that representative casts a vote at the next level of these things. And so it's never, hey, we have 130 million votes for this one thing. Let's get this thing sorted out. And one little error at any point in that process could invalidate the entire thing. That is an absolutely crazy way to determine the fate of the most powerful country in the history of the world. And because it's so crazy, it should be easy to understand that the most powerful people in the world, who have everything riding on these outcomes, would never allow that to happen. And the fact that they would never allow that to happen means that our elections are something other than we're pretending they are.
Yep. QR codes trump your silly cameras. No, they don't. I don't know what that's in reference to. QR codes.
Well, I assume. Oh, and I let's just give the most benefit of the doubt possible to this. Even if you had a camera, if the result was packed into a QR code, that camera wouldn't.
Oh, well, that's gone. Hand-marked paper ballots. Yes, what part of that did you not understand?
I'm just giving benefit of the doubt here, because otherwise, yes, I would entirely agree with you. That would make zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah, hand-marked paper ballot. There is no QR code. It's how you fill out that bubble. Okay. We didn't get to play these clips yesterday. I really wanted to. This first one here is Mark Warner. He's going to talk about the SAVE Act, but also about Pulte. And I've got it on 1.5 speed because he is very slow speaking. Also, he is the epitome of a cartoon character. This guy looks like a cartoon character. Here you go.
On everyone. No, I don't think the Republicans are going to throw over the filibuster for basically a voter disenfranchisement bill. That even if they did throw it over, I think there are 4 Republicans at least who said they won't vote for it. SAVE Act is not going to become law. Thank God. After the Voting Rights Act has been hurt by the Supreme Court, the idea that we're going to suddenly then disenfranchise every woman who changed their name if they got married, or turn over voter files to this crowd, it's not going to become law. It does show that Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about American national security. And the idea that in the middle of the night, whatever time it was in France at that point, 4 o'clock in the morning our time, he jerks back a credible nominee just because we were probably going to confirm him quickly, shows his disrespect for American national security. Again, that he doesn't give a damn. It's beyond outrageous. I mean, on this one, I'm happy to be angry at my Senate Republicans. This is not a Republican Democrat. I've been working well with the Senate Republicans. It is Donald Trump and Trump alone. And Bill Pulte will probably walk in the door on Friday to the DNI, even though the office will be closed because it's a federal holiday, unless some of the serious people in the president's national security orbit can say, we're really playing with fire, Mr. President, if you do this.
So when you talk about the serious people in his orbit, I think you're talking about the CIA director, John Ratcliffe. What would be your plea to him?
I'm not talking about any particular individuals other than I do think there are some serious people, across the administration about national security. We have offered jointly the president 2 or 3 off ramps. I think he is bound and determined to try to throw this live hand grenade into our national security environment. And again, my concern is not what Bill Pulte can do on 702. There are safeguards there. My concern is what happens if he gets access to some of our most classified secrets? I don't know if he'll keep them secret. What happens if he gets access to plans on how we're going to defend ourselves? I don't have any trust that inadvertently or overtly he might lay that. And I sure as heck don't have any confidence that he wouldn't try to weaponize the intelligence community against the integrity of our elections. I thought a week ago when the president realized there was such bipartisan pushback against Pulte that by putting forward Jay Clayton, that I'm sure most of the Democrats would have probably still voted against, I was going to give him, see how he did today, because I've known him, that there was at least a path out. And the president has literally destroyed that path, at least as we stand here Wednesday afternoon.
So are you telling me the position that we are in right now is just hoping that there are responsible people within the administration who are able to go to the president and convince him to put Clayton back on the table in order for Pulte not to walk in the door on Friday? Is that the best hope we can hope for right now?
No, 2 points. One is, and we didn't know what would happen when this tool, Section 702 of the FISA bill, which allows our spy agencies to listen to foreigners talking to each other abroad, that occasionally does, if an American is mentioned, we don't know, we have to look and see whether the American's a spy or a victim. We didn't know when that expired whether the communication companies that work with the government would still work with us. So far.
Did you catch that?
Say that again.
Listen to this part right here. Let me slow it down. Let me slow it down to normal speed.
We didn't know when that expired whether the communication companies that work with the government would still work with us. So far.
So Warner is saying, even without 702, we don't need you. The communication companies will still work with us. Because he says we're only dealing with the companies, the intelligence from abroad. And then he's kind of like, well, sometimes we have to check on Americans and make sure that they're not spies. Well, what do you do to check on Americans to make sure they're not spies? How are you doing that? I've talked about this all the time. I've got 2 new emails that I've been saving for a segment like this. I don't have them pulled up. I should have had them pulled up from foreign countries asking me to bid on contracts. That is a FISA tap, in my opinion. I have nothing to do with oil anywhere in the Middle East, but I'm somehow getting solicitations from foreign countries to bid on oil contracts. That is a way for them to get into my system. And good.
I wonder if he was just remarking that these companies might stop working with them because that provided them some immunity from liability on it. Yeah. The legal aspects. I wonder if that's what he's referring to. He said that Donald Trump is threatening national security. They were going to approve Jay Clayton no matter what 2 days after his hearing. They're not even doing they're like, well, we can't do our job because the threat the president poses is so serious to national security that we have to speed through this review process without actually reviewing this nominee. And it's so funny that last week everybody made, or maybe it was the week before, made the argument that Bill Pulte had no national security experience. And now they are making the argument that Jay Clayton has national security experience based on the fact that he was a lawyer and dealt with certain cases. It's insane.
Let me see. Yeah, I think this is one of those emails. This is from a company called P Energy VFS Global Construction Limited. I hope you're doing well. A good friend of ours recently shared your contact information, and we're excited to reach out about an upcoming project. We'd love to request a quote and check your availability. I can send over a detailed list of work we're considering, along with some images to give you a better idea of what we have in mind. Looking forward to hear from you. No idea who, anyways. But yeah, the Jay Clayton thing, we pointed this out right away, that Jay Clayton, they literally were saying about Pulte, it's part of the statute that you have to have national quality and quantitative national experience expertise. And then they're like, get Bill Pulte out. We'll put Jay Clayton in. We'll confirm him right away. John Thune was chomping at the bit to get that hearing done. And now Trump is, essentially rugging him on it. And I want to play this clip here of Cory Booker, because this is something else that we've said about this Bill Pulte situation.
There's also real.
And I played this yesterday, but me and Alpha didn't really get to unpack this because it was at the very end of the show. So I'm doing it again.
Clarity, I got to say. I mean, we've seen what Pulte has done with these mortgage documents, which again, in the time that I've covered the federal government, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. He had access to one database and he used that as much as he could. When you start to see like, oh, is it a weird coincidence that like a bunch of prominent critics of the president all happen to be engaged in mortgage fraud? Or is there one guy who's like rooting through their papers? This is what Steve Bannon had to say about Pulte in Pulte's defense, because Bannon is very invested like Trump in getting him in. Take a listen.
Why do you think they do not want Bill Pulte to step foot into a DNI headquarters? Why are they moving heaven and earth? Bill Pulte would understand exactly where to go in Tulsi Gabbard's files to look at the information about stolen elections.
What do you think of that?
I mean, he's saying the quiet part out loud. Let's be clear. This is a guy in his position right now has shown he's willing to violate people's privacy, violate ethics rules, and I believe violate the law, all to persecute Donald Trump's perceived enemies. That's with just having mortgage documents that he could violate. Now imagine if he has the apparatus of Americans' national security departments. This could give him insights and ability to continue to break the law, to continue to violate privacy, and try to go after his enemies. They are gearing up for midterms, not national security. They're gearing up to try to cheat in elections like Donald Trump already showed when we had the January 6th attack, and he was inciting riots. He will do whatever he can not to lose power.
I mean, Cory Booker's not wrong. I don't think they're breaking the law, but imagine if Bill Pulte, after all the documents, mortgage documents, research he's done, and Chris Hayes saying, well, this is unprecedented. Yeah, because nobody ever looked at it because it's your little secret club. And wait till you see what happens when these mortgage documents start getting tied in with intelligence and the cartels and the money laundering and everything else. And wait till you start to see how all of that stuff starts to come out. This terrifies them. This and Bannon, saying that it's about elections. Sure, there might be implications for elections and all of this, but I think that this is a big time money laundering racket that's been going on for quite some time. Nobody's ever looked at it, and now that Pulte is looking at it, you have everybody doing everything in their power to stop it. And President Trump, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe that is, I shouldn't say maybe he does, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe this is his goal, maybe it's not. But he's doing everything in his power to make sure Pulte gets that, gets the test drive with the Ferrari. That's what I call it.
He's in there now. The headline this morning was that he actually went to DNI last night. Maybe you have that.
No, I don't. But
okay, yeah, that he showed up yesterday and went in, determined to figure out who to fire. Let me see if I can. I had this up this morning. Here we are. It was in. It's reported widely, but this was CNN from this morning. Trump's new acting intel chief Bill Pulte arrives early, eyes firing hundreds, and so he kind of is stepping on Tulsi Gabbard's toes a little bit. And I'd suggest everybody just take a look at this. I don't think we have to go through it at any length. But do you have something on Tulsi's new releases today?
No, not yet. But I do have a little bit more on the Pulte.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
We did talk about this yesterday. I did not get to follow up and go any, talk about it with any type of, in depth at all. But this was Trump's truth post about the FISA and the Democrats tricked the Republicans and all that bullshit. And I thought the most interesting part of this, and me and Alpha briefly discussed this yesterday. Trump says, in addition to the newly nominated U.S. Attorney, Jamie McDonald, must be confirmed and blue slipped because of the ridiculous views of Republicans on blue slipping. Democrats are often willing to nix it. I may not be able to get the extraordinary Sullivan and Cromwell partner, Jamie, approved, and I don't want to take Jay Clayton away from the great job that he is doing until Jamie is in place. regarding the approval of our great patriot Jay Clayton. We are canceling the Senate hearing for DNI today, and we will not be going forward until Jamie McDonald is approved to be U.S. attorney. In the meantime, Bill Pulte will remain as an acting director of national intelligence. And so you have Trump doing a lot of different things with this. First, it's given Pulte the keys to the Ferrari, which has been my joke, right? It's the Ferris Bueller, take it out for a test drive, beat the hell out of it, but you got to bring it back at the end of the day. And if you go 25 miles, you run it in reverse and drive it off.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's what he did with Pulte. And I think that the reason for that is go in there. You have this idea, you're head of FHFA and Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Go in there and look and see if there's any sauce to this cartel money laundering thing. Do what you got to do. But the Southern District in New York is also really interesting because Clayton is the SDNY there. Again, he was blue slipped by Democrats, right? They didn't. Chuck Schumer, he got appointed because of the judges. They didn't want him in that position. And now you've got Jamie McDonald, who, again, he was the guy that was investigating FTX. He was one of two people investigating FTX, and he was hired by FTX to investigate. So it's not a government operation. That investigation in 2022 was not a government operation. He was hired by FTX. So be really interesting, with Sam Bankman-Fried coming back in the news and all that. But Trump, for some reason, does not want a vacuum at SDNY. He wants it to go from Clayton to McDonald, and that's it. He doesn't want any interim, any intermediary between. He just wants one to the other. And both Sullivan and Cromwell could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Depending on where you sit on the Epstein files, you're either going to say he wants to destroy all the Epstein files and protect them and keep them, out of our hands. Or on the other hand, maybe it's the Epstein files. He wants to make sure that they're protected so that the RICO case isn't compromised. Who knows? There's lots of shit that you could unpack with that.
Could you imagine being in Mark Warner's position right now, or the position of a number of these public figures who have to consistently react in the moment to the things that Donald Trump is doing, and they are always going to react in opposition? What do you got? The discombobulator? That's fantastic, buddy. That is fantastic.
Being discombobulated, had
Yes.
to Ranger and Quilting Queen. He's
That's
being
awesome.
discombobulated.
Yeah. Getting both sides of that story and having to react to both of them. I mean, Pulte's in there. They all freak out. Then Trump says, oh, you know what? We'll just give you Jay Clayton. Go ahead and try to get it done in time. So they do everything they can to make the Jay Clayton thing happen. And then Trump's like, nah, we're not going to do Clayton. We're going to do Pulte anyway. And so now they've already blown all their arguments against Pulte. They all look ridiculous. They don't know what he's going to do from moment to moment. And he did the same thing with the Iran war.
Yep. And then just real quick, New York Post had this story out. Jeffrey Epstein obsessed with trying to take down Trump before suicide, saying that he would sit there with his lawyers and just write out these little notes on his legal pad, handwritten notes like Trump is a total con artist, smoke and mirrors, and never had money, and all these other things. And just thought that was hilarious, as we're finding out that SDNY doesn't want to have anybody in besides either Clayton or McDonald. And I think that's all I've got. Maybe one more story, but let's go ahead and hit a sponsor real quick before we move on, and then we will close out the show. Hey, where to go? All right, guys. Real talk for a second. America is about to hit a huge milestone. We're coming up on America's 250th birthday. 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever seen. This is the perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters, not just fireworks and hot dogs, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday, and honestly, it's a great way to introduce kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why the ideas that they fought for still matter today. This guide sends kids back to the moment when brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well that they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way that kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising kids who know where this country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you'll want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free with this special offer. You just need to pay $2 for shipping and handling. Just head to freeusabirthday.com. Again, that's freeusabirthday.com and get the Kids Guide to America's 250th birthday for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure the next generation knows about it. All right. And then I think we had a couple more Rumble rants come in. We'll jump into those real quick. I think it was just one last one from Redneck Renegade, second shifter here, actually up early enough to catch you all live for a little bit in honor of Juneteenth. I'll be having some barbecue chicken over the charcoal later on tonight with some Bush Light.
That actually sounds like a damn good evening.
Hell yeah, it does. I'd put it on the smoker, not the grill. You finish it on the grill, crisp that chicken a little bit, get it up to like 300. Smoke the chicken and then finish it on the grill to crisp the skin and everything else. All right, Chris, what you got coming up, brother?
I'll be on DPH with John tomorrow night, and then a couple days with no shows, and then we get into the whole GART thing.
The whole GART thing. Don't sound so excited, man.
No, it's going to be great. Deadwood's always such a blast, and yeah, I mean, there's so many fun things to do there, and we are kind of like 3 years in, we kind of are developing our little traditions of the things that we do there. So it's a great time.
Badlandsmedia.tv/events. Check it out. June 25th through the 28th. Next week, 8 a.m. golf. If you guys are down, hit me up. CannCon at CannCon.net. Yesterday's live stream was actually really good. I was listening to it. I had to drive somewhere, but I was listening to it while I was driving, and you had BB and Drake and G Money on, and Ghost popped in for a little bit. It was a good exclusive as well. If you guys want to go back and watch it, you get access to that with the virtual or in-person tickets. So check it out. And stay tuned. You got Daily Herald coming up at 1. Then you got Only Lands tonight, Spellbreakers at 9. Christy and I will not be doing our date night tonight, nor will I be doing the weekend review on my channel this weekend, because obviously we have to travel. And then next weekend I'll be at GART, so it will be out as well. But rumble.com/CannCon if you want to give a follow over there. Smash the thumbs up. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.